back. I'm Kyle. This is Mind Beyond Money. And as always, I have my co host and brother with me, Shane.
Welcome back, guys. Today we're doing our final episode of our mini series, Seven Deadly Sins. And today we're going to tackle lust.
It's all come to an end. The series is over.
It felt like it took way longer than it should have. Kind of went through a bit of a rough ride with COVID.
A good break there. But nonetheless,
we're back at it, so.
we're at the end of these sins of finance.
Yeah. And with lust, we kind of, as we were brainstorming, we kind of realized it is quite a bit similar to greed and envy.
Big time.
But there's a little bit of a differentiator, and we'll try and make it a little clearer.
Yeah, give it its own spin, even though it's pretty similar.
Yeah. So lust with money is basically, romanticizing money.
Yeah, like you're worshiping it. It's all that's on your mind almost, right?
Yeah. And it's different from grinding or being focused or anything like that. It's just an obsession with that. And
yeah, I think with a lot of these things, sorry, but sidebar, like, it's almost when you cross the line with this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think this is what it all comes down to. Like, it's good to be passionate. It's good to grind for what you want. All these things are good, but it's when you cross that line where whatever aspect we're talking about in this miniseries, it like engulfs you completely almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And like, if I think about maybe a really good example of somebody who's like lustful for money, and be Mr. Krabs. Like, he's definitely like,
yeah,
all about that dollar.
Yeah, and see, that character, for example, doesn't have really envy from what I remember.
No.
Like, he wasn't doing it because he wanted to keep up with someone else in the show or anything, He's probably he's very wealthy in a cartoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So he definitely had the greed and the lust.
Yeah, and even more so, I'd say the lust was there than the greed, I think.
Yeah.
Like, he was like so infatuated with it, and
and so to build off that point is like, where does that become such a bad thing, right? Because a lot of people, you think about him in reality, like Krabs in reality, he would be a pretty successful entrepreneur owning a restaurant, right? And just like hoarding the money, and like, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but that's all the character has.
It's true. Yeah.
It's his entire identity.
Yeah.
Like, throughout the movies and throughout all the shows, every episode, like, if he's in it, it's usually about his money.
Yeah.
Like, that's his identity, right? And that's where it becomes like the toxic relationship with your finances.
Yeah. And we were trying to think of some ideas of, okay, well, how does that play back negatively on your finances? Because obviously it didn't play back very negatively on him. And the biggest thing that we could see is, like, when you're in that state, whether it's temporarily or you're permanently like that, you're much easier to be manipulated.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not if you're Mr. Krabs, because he's already got a lot of money. But
right, because he's at that point. But if you're in that mindset and you're striving for success currently, right? Like, we talk a lot about here, side hustles and ventures or taking care of your finances is what we're focusing in on here.
Yeah.
Right? It definitely can be a bad thing if you're just only lusting after money.
Yeah.
You get left open to these manipulators,
I guess, like, we don't want to, like, put down, because there is people who make it really work when it comes to, like, pyramid schemes or MLMs and stuff, but it definitely feeds on that lustfulness of, it just triggers people.
Realistically, like, we can only cover our butts so much saying, like, oh, we don't want to offend anyone who's done successful in that, and it's true, but there's a reason why they have a bad name to them, because way more people fail at them than succeed, and that's I've done it, you've done it,
we've
both gone through it, so it's not like we're speaking without of any experience in this, right? Like,
exactly. And I I didn't have much idea what I was doing or where I was going, why I was interested in it, other than, oh, look at this guy, he's doing so well with it, you know. And it was like,
Yeah.
oh, he's making so much money, you can too if you just want to do this part-time, blah blah blah. It's like it never really works that way usually. Maybe the right person it works
Yeah,
for, but
and
like
some of these things, like, you end up almost working for free.
Yeah.
Without naming names, I kind of followed in an MLM, a multi-level marketing position some time ago, and it worked out. I worked about 30 hours for free.
Yeah.
You know, doing their grunt work.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so, and a lot of these things, like, it's hard because you know that the people who have been successful at it also put in this much time early, and they grind really hard.
It's no different than building a business too.
No,
you
exactly. You think about how many unpaid hours business owners put in.
Yeah.
Right? It's,
exactly.
They're not, you're starting a business, you don't usually start yourself on a salary.
Yeah.
Like,
usually.
Right? Or an hourly wage. But, you know, it's just something that you need to be careful of, because when you're so obsessed with the money aspect, right? If that's what you're in it for, that's fine. But if that's all you're in it for, you got to be careful, right?
It can be very dangerous for sure.
Yeah. I think another thing that I would just like to throw in there real quick is the upfront costs.
Oh yeah,
of
like
these things.
You know, like
sometimes aren't spoken of, but
yeah, my one friend did one, and it was like he had to buy like $500 worth of this product just to start.
That's
to
usually
enter in.
That's like the cliche catch for pyramid-esque schemes and these entrepreneur stuff, right? Like,
yeah,
sorry, not entrepreneur stuff. I mean, like, the be your own boss.
Yeah.
You know,
he wasn't able to really sell any of that product.
Okay.
Like, he maybe made like $20 worth of that $500 back.
Yeah.
But, you know, like half of that cut that he, you know, half of that $500 went to who recruited him. Right? And then it like funneled up, right?
Yeah.
But
so
it was like,
without getting into explaining how these things work,
yeah.
and save that for later. I think it really just comes down to watching yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it sucks because with a lot of these episodes that we've done in this mini-series, we've been able to give solid, like, objective advice.
Yeah.
Or practices you can even do. Right?
Exactly.
But with this one, it's a little more difficult. You just got to be more mindful.
Yeah. Without going back into those other two that are very similar and being like repeating ourselves over it.
Yeah.
It's one thing if we mention something, you know, again down the road, but I don't want to just sit here like a few episodes later or one episode later and be like,
talked about in greed or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So this was kind of the one example we were able to come up with.
Yeah. Just to avoid the manipulation that comes from it. Because when you think about when you're lusting after money this bad, you also start to lust after the prestige or the power, the status, the look at me, right?
Yeah. All these things come together.
Yeah, and that can come from a lot of different places, but it leaves you wide open almost.
It's very much the same as, like, you know, the guy who's just extremely obsessed with a certain girl and just chasing her around and, you know, trying everything he can, you know, throwing money at her, taking her out, you know, driving her here or there, doing whatever. And then, you know, it backfires, as in she doesn't even, you know, look at him that way or something. And
or he misses out on another opportunity. Or
exactly. And
it's too much of his focus is her, right?
Yeah, or she even just turns around and manipulates it, right?
Yeah, I'd like to put another point, building on your analogy there, is like, you're chasing after this girl on and on and on, and magically it happens. One day you succeed.
Yeah.
But you weren't even thinking practically of, like, who she is or what this relationship would look like. It was just like you became obsessed with the idea of wanting it, right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, I'm going into the actual part of, now you're just being obsessed with chasing money, the end goal of quote unquote success.
Yeah.
Right? You lose yourself.
Exactly.
Right? And where's the end line? Like, there's no end game to that.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's a little simpler too. Like finances doesn't have to be, you know, you don't have to be crazy about it to be extremely happy and comfortable and be able to retire and
Right.
have
It's
a
not some
nest egg and
grand gesture.
yeah. There's
Of
lots of
making $1 million in a week or something like.
yeah. There's lots of people who've worked medium or lower paying jobs and saved away and just lived a normal life and had money for retirement.
Yeah.
Because they didn't do stupid things early on. They didn't have to do something crazy and,
win the
obsessed
lottery
with money and everything. They had,
Yeah.
Maybe families and stuff to really focus on
Yeah.
and spend more of their time with.
Yeah. Well, I think that about wraps up our mini series.
Yeah, I would say.